What's going on, folks? Welcome back for another episode. The wind's blowing a little bit, so sorry if it muddies the audio. Kind of changing it up. I'm just taking what I can carry on my back, humping out into the boonies, and we're gonna work on some survival techniques for you guys, some primitive camping. We're gonna rough it a little. It's gonna get a little cold tonight, so you're gonna get to watch me suffer likely. So stay tuned for some gourmet food, some awesome bushcraft survival techniques, and we'll see if we can't throw a shelter together. I'm limited on time, so we're gonna have to fly through this. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate you watching. So it's about 1:45 in the afternoon. It'll get dark probably around 6:45, 7-ish, and it's gonna get cold tonight. Not much clouds in the sky. The wind will be blowing good. So I'm gonna let Mother Nature help me out with building this shelter. I'm gonna find some naturally created cover and see if I can't modify that to keep me out of the wind and help keep me a little bit more warm. And I also don't have a ton of time, so I can't get too creative. So we're gonna get up into the timberline here, and what we'll do is look for something that we can utilize that nature has already provided, and we'll just kind of modify that to our liking. So I have a lot of options available. As you can see, it's pretty vast out here, so I can't waste too much time and I can't be too picky. So we're gonna start searching around and see if we can find a natural depression, maybe something with some water around, so we can practice some of our survival skills. So stay tuned, guys. We're gonna find someplace that'll suit us, get camp set up, and we'll start talking about what's on the menu and what little survival hacks we're gonna try out today. So I found my first prospect area to potentially stay in. Right up underneath it down here, there's some decent coverage that I could just add some layers on top of to keep myself nice and snug down there, and it's in a bit of a depression. And looking at that, I was sitting here planning out how I'm gonna make it a little better. It's very important to look around the terrain when you're gonna set up camp for possible hazards. Possible hazard here would be this giant tree that's about one strong gust from getting blown over directly on top of where I was looking at staying. So this will be a no-go. We're gonna have to continue on. So make sure you guys are checking your surroundings for hazards like that when you're picking out your campsites. I think I found where we're gonna spend the night. So nature provides on this one. Giant dead tree, tipped over. It's gonna give me some coverage here, and it'll give me the ability to create like a lean-to, depending on which side I choose. This one right here is kind of already set up for me to build somewhat of a little shelter down in there. And it'll keep me out of the wind because I'm in somewhat of a depression, also on a hillside though, so it's not gonna be super wet. We actually had about 8 inches of snow 2 days ago, and Montana's in that bipolar time of year where it can't decide if it's spring or winter. So we are gonna have some difficulties with fire, but there's a ton of dead wood laying in here. We'll talk a little bit more about the selection of your wood process, but I think this is it, guys. Right in here is probably gonna be home. I'm gonna test the integrity of these bad boys, make sure I'm not putting myself in a perilous spot when one of these will tip on me, but I think this is gonna do it. I don't have a ton of time to be selective, but I do like this. So what I'm gonna do now is just take a bunch of pole-like straight logs and just stack them up right here to get myself a nice little spot down here while I'll be covered by those. And I brought a tarp with me in the event that it starts raining, which it's not supposed to, but we'll see, that I can drape over the top of it. What I'd like to do is use natural foliage to cover that and kind of thatch it together. But where I'm at right now, I'm not allowed to cut down anything that's live. And obviously the live stuff is what's gonna be best for creating some type of cover that's gonna keep us warm, keep us out of the elements. So we're gonna start working on that. I'm gonna start gathering some poles, and I'm seeing a lot of good potential for firewood here, guys. I'm gonna get a bit of a fire circle made up as well, but I'll give you guys a little bit of an action shot of as I'm getting this wood ready and getting this shelter set. Two most important things that you need to prioritize when you're getting out here if you find yourself in a bad spot: shelter, fire. If you're gonna spot, especially if it's cold, if it's warm, you might have some forgiveness. Hypothermia is gonna be the thing that kills you before anything. You can go 3 weeks without food, you can go at least 3 days without water, you go 3 minutes without oxygen. I mean, if you run out of oxygen, I can't help you there. But you gotta have fire out here to keep yourself warm. We'll talk about some survival skills a little bit later, to where if you're having a hard time creating fire, there are certain things we can do to kind of prolong the inevitable and at least keep yourself warm for, you know, somewhat of a period of time. Guys, also in the last video, I was getting a lot of people asking me questions about some of the gear I was using. So what I'm gonna do now with these videos, right at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see a little arrow point down anytime I'm using a piece of gear, so it can kind of show you where to go if you want to get that piece of gear for yourself. So let's get the shelter going, and we'll start working on fire after that. Since I was able to find a spot so quickly, I'm not as concerned about fire. I have time, I'll be able to get the fire going. So let's get the shelter built, get that fire going, and boy, do I have something juicy to show you guys for dinner. All right, we got a good start on the firewood and the shelter wood. This will be enough to get us into a good spot. It'll probably get down into about the mid to upper 30s tonight. I'm just a little worried about the wind. Where we're tucked in at, I think we'll be okay. What I'm gonna do is build a primitive freezer. So there's a little snow out here I'm gonna take advantage of, but there's another way to keep your stuff a little bit colder, make it go a little longer. It might get a little dirty, but I think, you know, sacrifice is worth the reward if you're stuck out here. So I'm gonna put together a basic freezer, well, maybe more of a fridge, ice box maybe, and I'll show you guys kind of what the concept looks like. It's super simple, it's very basic. Let's jump into that. So find yourself a shaded area. I'm gonna use the same big dead tree that I'm gonna be sleeping by. As you're putting things together, make sure you're not working on top of a workspace. So don't build your little fridge where you're gonna put your bed at. Spread your stuff out so you're not getting in your own way. So all we're gonna do, guys, very simple concept. I'm limited on tools for what I have out here today, but find your spot and just dig yourself a hole. I'm just gonna use a hatchet. And it doesn't have to be super deep or getting into clay right away. We could actually use that for some other stuff later in the video. But just dig yourself a hole, get down there a little ways, and you're gonna feel how cold that dirt is just a little ways down, especially since we just had all that snow. It's gonna be real wet and cold down here. You can definitely probably at least a 20-degree change in temperature from the ambient temp right now. So something just as simple as that there. It's just a small little hole, and whatever you want to keep cold, put in there. And what I'm going to do is put some ice on top of it and bury it. So I'll get that, my stuff I want to keep cold, maybe some adult beverages, toss them in there. I'm going to throw snow on top of it, bury it, and when I want them, I'll dig them up. So as things often do, the shelter idea has kind of adapted in my mind. I'm gonna do it a little bit differently. I'm gonna utilize that tarp a little more fully to its potential. So what I'll do is anchor the tarp here, pull it across, anchor here. I'm actually gonna let the tarp drape over and anchor it to another piece of wood, heavy piece of wood on the ground there, because that wind is gonna come from that direction tonight. So I'll use that tarp as a windbreak. And then what I'm gonna do is gather a bunch of pine needles, dead pine needles, and just pack them underneath this tree right here to where I'm getting insulation so that air is not pushing through on the bottom of that thing. That's going to be a little more effective way to build a shelter versus processing a ton of poles that I don't need to process. I can just focus in on processing firewood and kind of working through some other things that I want to get done with the camp before it starts getting dark out. Another camping tip for you guys: to keep your backpack and all your goodies up off the ground. Super simple. Find a tree with some branches on it. Here, once again, I can't cut live branches. This tree's got some dead ones, so I just snapped one off. And all we're gonna do is use one just like this as a little hanger. That's a dead branch and it's holding up that pack with all the weight. Just keeps your stuff up off the ground, lets me access it easier. Simple little things like that can go a long ways. All right, so what we did with the pine needles, I did block. You can see all that light coming through there and there. All of that is now blocked with pine needles, and I actually mixed in a little bit of clay in there to give it a little more structure, and there's some wood on the back side of it so it'll keep the wind from blowing it over. Another key point for staying warm is to stay off the ground. The ground is cold, the ground holds moisture. You do not want to be directly on the ground. So what I did was simple. If it was a little colder, I'd probably do it different. I just took more of those pine needles and I just spread them out all over where I'm going to be laying tonight. I have a little air mattress I'm going to put down too. If I didn't have that air mattress, what I'd probably do is take some more of these longer poles, and I would lay them down side by side with a layer of the pine needles under them and a layer of the pine needles over them. Anything you can do to raise yourself off the ground, even an inch, and give yourself a little bit of insulation is going to go a long ways for you. If you're bringing blankets and whatnot out to camp, like a backpack and you're backpacking and you take like blankets and a sleeping bag, put one of those blankets under you. You're going to stay significantly warmer by creating that distance up off the ground. Let's do a shelter update. It's not looking like much yet, guys. Stay with me on this though. So tie down on one side, tie down on the other. What I did was lay a big hog of a log down there, tied off on both ends. That's going to give me a windbreak. What I will end up doing is leaving this end open. If it starts getting drafty, I might come up with a plan for that. But for now, this end will be open. What I need to find now is a stick that wise, think slingshot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put that stick right here, poke it straight upward. And I'm going to take one of my poles and I'll run it from the middle out to that stick. And it's going to give me a bit of an A-frame, pushing any moisture off to the sides and give me a little bit of room to move in there. Kind of a unique way of getting it in there. I'm going to dig down, create a hole. The pressure from the tarp being pushed downward is going to push down on that Y stick. And in theory, it's not going to fall apart. We'll give this guy a try. That's what we're looking for right there. It's dead. When you pull it off the down tree, this is still sturdy enough to hold some weight. So let's clean this bad boy up and we'll see if we can make it work. So to keep our main logs from shifting, we're just going to put some little stakes in. So just grab some small pieces of wood. It doesn't have to be anything crazy big. Something like even that right there will work just fine. And just pound it in on either side. It's not going to do a ton, but it's going to keep it from shifting if you just bump it. So it gives it a little bit of structure. So here's what we're working with, guys. Let's crawl in, give you the grand tour. Welcome. There's the view from the front door. And we'll address some of the issues. So while I'm in here, what I'm going to feel for is any type of draft or if I see light. So I got a bunch of light coming through right there. That's something we're going to kind of fine tune and close up. And I do feel a draft coming in from the entrance that we didn't close up. I might just rig up something that we can use to block that off once I crawl in here, or I'll just tough my way through it. But basic shelter, all I used is a tarp and a little bit of paracord. If you got about a foot of paracord, you can get yourself something rigged up. This will keep me just fine for the night. Keeping myself up off the ground with these pine needles and my little sleeping pad, this will be perfect. I probably wouldn't even need to have my sleeping bag out here, but I do. Shelter's done. Let's go on an exploration and see if we can find some water to purify. So now that shelter's done, we're going to work on water. The way we're going to purify it takes a hot minute. So we got to get out there and get to it. Another interesting thing I like to, I guess not interesting, but helpful thing I like to bring out here with me, especially when I got the GoPro, is just a very simple solar setup. Something like this, just to power these or charge up these GoPro batteries, and a little power pack that I bring with me because you burn through these batteries fairly quickly. Simple and cheap. You can get it on Amazon and it keeps you going, and you don't got to carry a power box with you or anything fancy like that. Just enough to keep those batteries charged. You're not going to power anything crazy off that, but something's better than nothing. So let's go find some water. It may seem like common sense, but if you don't know, when you're looking for water, find natural depressions. So big hillside, I'm on a big hillside. Down in here is where we're going to want to look for any resting water. Obviously, water is going to follow the path of least resistance and head downhill. If there's no naturally occurring water, you could be kind of in a bad spot. There's a lot of springs out in Montana, but in the area I'm at, it's kind of desolate. There's almost like a desert out here. But I do believe if we get down in these depressions, we're going to find something, and it's going to be disgusting, but we're going to make it work. The nice part is, if you were just out driving in your truck and you broke down and you needed to find some water, high likelihood you have everything in that truck to be able to produce somewhat potable, drinkable water. We'll break that down once we get back to the camp and show you the components you're going to need. To start with, you got to have a way to transport it. If you have an empty pop bottle, an empty beer bottle, an empty can, a can would be a plus because you can boil water in a can. That's all we're gonna need, is some type of container to actually gather that water. So we're gonna continue working down into this depression and see if we can't find some. Would have been a sick little camping spot. Tuck right up underneath there. Block off one side. That's nice, I like that. A couple of rock features over here that might have worked out pretty good too. Right up in here. So you can see during the spring, when everything melts, this is a good spot to get water. You can see right here that water has been running down off and down into this little pooling area. If I were to dig down right here, I could probably find some, but we're gonna go for the low-hanging fruit and we're gonna continue our search. But these rocky areas like this kind of direct that water and push it downhill. So that's uphill. We're gonna follow the stream downhill and look and see if we can't find a little pool. We might actually steal some of these rocks and see if we can do some primitive tool creation with some of these rocks too while we're down here. And we need a fire pit still. A lot of things left to do on the list of setting up camp. All right, we did it. Behold, water. Took a minute. So that actually looks fairly clean right there. Could you drink that? I suppose. Do you want to? Not really. There's definitely, like, at some point been livestock through here, but no worries, we're gonna make do with it. So when you're collecting this water, do your best not to stir up all the sediment at the bottom. So look for the deepest point in that water. And if there's somewhere where it's actually running, that's gonna be preferable. So if you're seeing someplace that's bubbling, that's the most oxygenated water that you're gonna find. Something like that probably be in an area kind of like this, where it's like almost like a little natural dam. So if I continued upstream, I might find something a little better, but this is perfect. So just fill up your container as full as you can. It's really cold. And that actually doesn't look bad at all. Look at that. Little tinge to it, but not bad at all. Okay, we got our water. I'm gonna follow this little stream back to the camp. It is probably, I don't know, a quarter mile we walked to find this water. And now that we know where it's at, it's close enough to camp to where if we need more, we can come back and get it. All right, that's step one. Let's go continue the process, guys. The next items we're gonna need, we need some sand and we need some river rock or something close to those two. Charcoal would also work. I haven't started a fire yet, so we'll see about the charcoal. I'm just following down on the creek bed, looking to see if I can find something in these hillsides that'll work. There's a ton of sandstone out here, but that's more like mud or silty than what I'd like. I want some fine grain materials so I can use those. The search will continue, but I don't think we'll have a problem with like the pebbles, but we may have an issue finding sand that would be suitable. So we may have to hold off on our water until we get some charcoals built up. So once again, Mother Nature provided. The rock formation here is slowly getting eroded, as you can see by the water as it's flowing down here, which is producing some fine, more so fine like pellets and pebbles, and not that nasty sandstone. So I'm just stealing it from down here. This would be a good spot to try and collect from as it's running, but it's going down into this little tributary area. So there's a good pool of it here, probably about a foot deep or so, but it's just mud on the bottom of it lining it. And you can see where insects have been crawling around in there. So I collected a handful of that rock material and I'm just gonna wash it out in this water to kind of get any sediment out of there that I'd collected. And then we're gonna move on and look for kind of a little more pebble sized. I have a little bit of a mixture, but we're almost there. I almost forgot, interesting Montana fact for the day. Montana has two nicknames. One is Big Sky Country, for obvious reasons, and the other is the Treasure State. I think that's due to Gold Rush back in the day. Kind of a cheesy one, but it is beautiful out here. And this is the ugly portion of the state. You go further out west and it blows your mind. Let's talk firewood. So if you're picking up wood off the ground like this, it may seem like easy pickings. This is not ideal right now, especially this time of year. The ground is super wet, which means there's gonna be a ton of moisture in that wood, and it's not gonna burn nearly as effective. Go for this kind of stuff here. It's up off the ground, it's still easily accessible, but it's not gonna be soaking wet. You can burn this kind of wood behind me here, and you can use it to dry out anything that's down on the ground. Just a simple way to kind of make life a little easier for yourself if you're trying to get that fire going especially. And another nice little gift from nature is going to be some fire starter that I found over here in the base of our camp here, the big dead hog of a tree that we're using. So let's get over to the stump head of it. This is a big rotted out tree, so it's super dry material up in the stump in there, really dry. And when a tree like this tips over and dies, immediately what's going to happen is that sap's going to start to gather down in the trunk. You can see some right here, right there. That sap attempts to heal and fix the tree. So all this stuff right here is going to be amazing fire starter. It might be a little bit wet, some of it, but you see wood like that back down in the stump like that, that is awesome fire starter right there. I'm sure we can find some back down in here. It's kind of hollowed out, and we'll see what we can do to collect a little bit of it. Like right here, this stuff is perfect. That stuff's going to burn for a long period of time. I want to get some fresh sap for the fire starter, but that's going to be a really good material and fuel to keep that fire burning until we can get some of that tinder to catch. All right, next step, let's get the fire going so we can start purifying our water and we can start considering dinner. I really outdid myself on this one. I thought the last video with lobster was going to be hard to beat, but I'm a red meat guy, so let's see what we got in store. Something important to find if you're out here roughing it and you don't have a bunch of tools with you is a good firewood splitting tree. That's what we're looking for. A nice V in a tree. You want both of them to be fairly sturdy, and we're gonna create some leverage. If you guys have seen the previous video, you know what I'm talking about. All right, let's bust some branches. So one main component I like to use when I'm starting a fire, I guess kind of the whole thing put together, I refer to as a rat's nest. One thing I like to do is find a down tree with bark on it, and I'm gonna try and peel that bark off and keep it as whole as I can. That's gonna hold my tinder bundle and keep it out of the wind and give it just a good natural fuel source to burn. Excuse me not having a shirt on out here in the middle of nowhere. You're lucky I have my fucking pants on. Excuse my language. Let's see what we can find. Here's what we're looking for. Let's see if we can get this thing off whole. It can be a little finicky. You don't want it to be massive. You also don't want it to be too small. If it's a little wet, not a big deal. All it's really doing is holding my fire. If it burns, that's a plus. So you see how this one is loose and still rounded? That's what we're looking to grab right there. So let's see if we can peel this thing off. Let me set you guys down. Tripod engage. All right, finesse now. Like a glove. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're looking for right there. That is the base for our rat's nest. Let's get this bad boy on fire. One other thing I'd like to do is find some natural sap in these trees that's actually sapping. I haven't ventured out too far, and time is of the essence. It's starting to get dark. I do want to kick back and relax, and I am getting pretty hungry, and I'm running out of water. I did purposefully not bring a ton of water to make myself have to purify some water out here. So we need to get this fire going so we can get all that accomplished. But The sap I don't necessarily need, but boy is it's cheating when you're out here trying to start a fire, especially in wet conditions. So I really want to try and find some for those of you who haven't seen my videos in the past to show you how amazing it is as a fire starter. I'm going to do what I can, but once again, time is of the essence. So I found a small spot. Looks like someone was just hacking on a tree here. A great spot to look for if you have porcupines in your area. When a porcupine eats off all the bark on a tree, the tree is naturally going to try and repair itself, and it's going to start oozing that sap out of it. Or if a tree snaps due to, you know, inclement weather, what have you, that's where that sap's going to come into play. So right here, you can see it beating up nice and small. That's what we're looking for right there. So what I do, get yourself some dry grass. You don't need a ton of it, and we need to work this grass. So what I'm going to do is put the tripod down. I'm going to show you how to work this grass into like just a fine, nasty little tinder bundle. And then we're just going to goo it all over the place with that sap. So tripod mode engage. So what we want to do, ball it up, have a couple different layers of it here. And I just start working it back and forth. And if you have hay fever, don't do this. But it's going to get nasty, and you want to build up those particles and really break it down in there. Break down those fibers and make them as fine as you possibly can. And I'm going to do it a little bit more back at the camp with some more grass. I want this to have a little structure to it so that it can hold that sap. But some of the other stuff that I'm going to use in my bundle is going to be even broke down more. But you see how it's looking just like a mouse nest? If you live in the city and you didn't used to poke around your grandpa's place and found mice nests in old cars, you might not know what I'm talking about. But mouse nest, bird nest, I call it a rat nest. So we're going to take that, tripod mode, disengage. Come up to our sap, just glob it on there. Get all of it. All right, so that's nasty and gooey, and it looks like there's a bunch of glue in there. This is gonna be golden. It does not take much off a flint to get this to go. If you've watched my videos in the past, you know I wanna accomplish a bow drill. That's something I've tried. It was unsuccessful. I had some lessons learned. Ain't gonna happen today. We got a big venture coming up here next month where we may have success. We'll see. But we're gonna get this over to the tinder bundle. I'm gonna collect some more of this dead grass, and then I'll show you guys the progression of the fire. The next step is the most important step if you're prepping a fire out here in the middle of nowhere. If you screw this one up, you're going to fail. Tune in for that. So the most important step is going to be our kindling. So this is the smallest pieces of wood we're going to incorporate. Once our tinder bundle goes, we have to have quality kindling or we're just going to lose it. So when you're picking your kindling, come over to your tree, grab a hold of your branch. So this looks obviously much more dead than anything that's coming off of here. What you want to do is grab it, and if you can simply just break it like that, that's quality. We want that. If you grab hold of it and you find that there's a bend in it, that's too green. I broke it, but it's too green. If I have to work to get that off the tree, that is too green. I don't want it. So go for these little pieces that just snap right off. Those are super dry, and those are super, super combustible. So that's what I would say to be the most important key, guys. Don't screw up the order of operations. So over here, you have my little fire starter center here. So what I got, obviously you saw the giant pile of firewood I got over there. More of that to come. In my little fire starter area, I have kind of the order of operations here. So I have my nasty little bundle of grass with the sap in it. I have our chunks that we took out of the stump that are almost like a petrified wood, and they should smell really strong, really piney almost. And you can see in there that that tree had tried to save itself when it tipped over, and these are just saturated and they're super hard. These are going to be an amazing fuel source deep down in the guts of that fire to keep it lit and let me develop a coal base. Next to that, I have pine needles, super dry pine needles. So if you're having a hard time with that because of some inclement weather, dig down under the pine needle base. If you can get close to, like, say, trees like this where there's some coverage, dig down underneath that and find a layer about 2 down from the top. Those are going to be much more dry. The next thing we're going to need is our smaller pieces of kindling, which I have here. Like we just talked about, make sure that these break easily. And then I got a couple of small logs. So there is the base for our rat's nest that we gathered up. So what we're going to do is start putting it together. I'm going to get my flint out, and I'll kind of show you guys the process as I put this thing together and what it looks like. I'll show you guys a few components of my fire starter kit. Tripod mode engage. All right, so I just keep a small little bag like this that I keep my fire starter stuff in. So I have some cotton balls in there, which are amazing for fire starter, and I actually have some right here that are saturated with Vaseline. That's another amazing way to start your guys' fires. I don't want to use that today. I try and change it up and not do the exact same thing every time, but I'm still learning, so I'm no pro. With your flint, I think my flint's in this. Let's see. I have a couple of them running around here. Okay, here we go. You just need some type of striker. You can use your knife. A lot of them come with something. You're just going to push down and actually pull that flint back and push forward. This one's brand new, so it's got a little coating on the back, but just pull the flint away. And that's what's going to actually, there you go, see that? Just like that, that's what we're looking for. So now what we're going to do to build this bad boy up, we're going to take that little ball of our fire starter with our sap on it. We want that in there. But first off, I want to put that fuel source that we had from that stump, I want to put that in the bottom. I want that tinder ball to be on top of it. So this is actually what catches. So let's get that down in the bottom. Sorry if you can't see it, doing my best. We'll get another chunk of that down there. That's our base. And then we're going to get this right down in there on top of it, because that's going to be what's going to catch first. And I want to make a little opening in it to catch that ember. Think of it like a little nest. That's where our eggs are going to sit. Everything needs to be close by when you're doing this. As soon as that catches, I need to start stoking it, but I don't go crazy and I don't drown the fire out. All right, tripod mode engage. Sorry, there's some shadows here, but can you see that? Are we in frame? We are in frame. Let's make fire, ladies and gentlemen. And we are off to the races. Simple as that, y'all. Get outside and give it a try. While we wait for the fire to get rolling, if you guys are interested in any merch, I busted out some bro tanks for the summer, and I got some bucket hats, Oakley brand right now. I'm looking at a couple different options to get them kind of bulk produced, but if that's something you're interested in, holler at me in the comments and let me know, and we'll work on some pricing and we'll work on getting those to you guys. I'm stoked on them so far. This quality is impressive. That being said, it came at a cost. So if you want something now, it's not going to be cheap. But if you're patient, we can get them to you at a little more cost-effective rate. So let me know in the comments, guys. So far, we got the bucket hats, the bro tank, and we got some hoodies coming. Hoodies coming. And I got one t-shirt through I wasn't stoked on, so we're going to try again on the t-shirt. Let me know in the comments. Appreciate it. So we're at a good point to purify some water. We have all of our components set up and ready to go. In the name of science, we brought a craft beer with. This is something you may actually have in your vehicle, some type of can like this, or something you could actually find while foraging. This is something you can boil water in, so this is going to come into play. The other components we're going to need: an empty bottle, like so, and then obviously our water source, and then one thing you could use is either a sock, a piece of fabric, I guess, think of it that way. So a piece of your shirt, piece of your pants, a sock, something like that, as the base of our filter. We're gonna use our rock, and we're gonna use charcoal. So I'm gonna put this thing together and show you guys how it works. It's kind of slow, but our water currently now, it looks fairly clear, but there is a little bit of a yellow tinge to it. So what we need to do is filter that out, and then what we need to do is boil it. So we're gonna use the can to boil it. I'll build the filter now, so just kind of watch and I'll piece that together, okay? Tripod mode engage. So take your bottle, chop it at about, I don't know, a third or a quarter area on the bottom. Obviously be careful. So that's what we're looking for there. Take your cotton or your fabric or whatever you're going to use, get it down right there in the neck of the bottle. So cram it down there. That's going to be the last kind of line of defense, if you will, of the filter. Let's get rid of that so we can see what we're doing. So like that. Take our charcoal. I wish I had a little bit more, but this will be plenty. Add that. So we have charcoal bit layer on top of that. Go to your finest bit of rock you're able to collect, which out here I wish I would have been able to find a little bit better, but it's not terrible. And I really don't have a need to add those big pieces. They're not really going to do anything for me. Another great layer that we could add would be sand. I don't have any access to sand out here. This is going to be far better than what it was. So we're going to run it through this. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to drip slow. And then what we'll do is actually boil it. So I'm going to run it through this into the beer can. So let's cut that beer can down real quick. Make sure we don't spill that. All right, tripod mode engage. And go more than you think. Go higher towards the top, because I'm gonna have to do this a few times. You're gonna lose a little bit of water in your production here. It's just the cost of doing business. You're not gonna get everything out of it. So I'm gonna have to go make another water run here shortly. But I have time on my side. I have nothing. I'm in no hurry to go anywhere. I still have plenty left. And for the love of God, be careful when you're cutting this thing. So we want to get rid of this exterior layer of plastic, of this plastic labeling, so that we don't. It's going to burn off no matter what. And if you're wondering, this was a Hefeweizen made in the state of Montana. It's delish. All right, so open that up. Do your best to find the most flat surface you can deal with. And what I'm actually going to do is use some prop sticks to hold this up so I don't have it tip over on me. I'll use some of the big rocks that we recovered. So take your bottle. You can either punch a hole in the lid, which is what I'm going to do, just so I can keep this from falling out, or you can just take the lid off. But I'm just going to punch a small hole in that lid. We don't want any microplastics in there, so make sure your hole's nice and clean all the way through. Go real slow, be careful, cut away from your body, keep that point away from you. And as we're letting our water filter, we're gonna go on one more little forage and gather a few more things to include our side dish for dinner that is gonna be produced by the beautiful state of Montana and nature. We're almost through. The lid's deeper than it looks. When I eat this side dish, you're gonna have to let me know in the comments if you've eaten it and how you prepared it, because I only have a very basic working knowledge of how to cook this thing and how to prepare it. And man, I really hope it does not settle, unfortunately, with me when I am in the middle of nowhere out here. Conveniently enough, I guess, if it gives me the shits, no one's here to see except for the dude who's, you know, sprinting through the trees down there that I ran into. I'm actually going to pop this lid off real quick here. Hold strong, Cotton. Oh, we're through. That was the cotton I'm seeing. All right, so set it up in there and try and get it as sturdy as you can. Try and level it out. I'm gonna use a little rock here. Sorry, you're out of the shot. Use a little rock here to level it out. You guys see that? I think you can see that. So here's what we're working with. And let's add our water. Tripod mode engage. So I'm going to save a little bit of that so we can compare the two. I don't think it's going to be a massive difference. You'll see some impurities in there. You can see that charcoal in there. That's going to get filtered out by that cotton at the bottom. What you could even do is take a sock, turn a sock inside out. It might taste a little like foot, but run a sock over the top of that, or just a chunk of shirt. I'm going to take a little sip of this water because I'm kind of curious at this point. Probably not going to drink it, but take a little sip and get a taste. This is the unpurified. Certainly a little earthy, but I mean, not a total turnoff. If you had to drink it, I think you'd be just fine, but let's let the filter do its job. It's going to take some time. You see how slow it's moving here. It's definitely going to take, you know, a little bit of time to go, but we're going to stoke this fire up a little bit, get these coals really rolling, and then we're going to go do our last little forage mission before it is dinner time. The last time I had the main course of dinner was in a Las Vegas steakhouse, a 5-star. It seemed like more like a 3-star. It was nothing impressive. It was a steakhouse in the middle of the mall. I think this is going to be far superior, and it's not going to cost me $250. So the side dish, though, this is going to be a first. I've seen it in restaurants. I've just never rolled the dice on it. So bear with me, guys. More to come, and the weather is just beautiful. Let's do a temperature check. Let's see, what are we at? It is 59 degrees. So it's starting to go down a little bit. The peak we got to is 63 today. I'm still super comfortable out here. The sun is shining. There's not a cloud in the sky, which generally means it's going to be a cold night. But I've been shoring up the shelter. I added another layer up top here to block out some of those spots that we were seeing some sunlight. I really want to just fight the wind and keep the wind out tonight. That's my goal. I'll be plenty warm in there. I have a decent sleeping bag. I got that layer down on the bottom to keep me up off the wet ground. But I think I'll be decent. I think it's going to be just fine. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Stay tuned. All right, I found a decent example of our side dish, so we're going to harvest it now. So we're going to jump in and grab a piece of cactus. That looks appealing, does it not? Those are sharp. So, in my understanding, if I cook this bad boy over the fire, I'll be able to burn all of those off, all those little points, and that this will actually be remotely appealing. I have no idea. If you've eaten cactus, throw it in the comments. We're going to try it out, but I got to be honest, I'm a little leery about this one. That just does not look appealing. Maybe we'll throw some garlic salt on it. Get out of here. Look at that thing. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is a tomahawk steak right there. We're going to crush that thing with some veggies with it. So we got some mushrooms and a little bit of onion there. And a side of cactus. That might ruin dinner. I think I'm going to eat this first. Then we'll go to the cactus. So let's get this bad boy prepped and ready to eat. All right, this bad boy is called the Clever Girl by Columbia River Knife and Tool. So if you've ever seen Jurassic Park, that might make sense. Check the link, y'all. Let's get in it. Yep. Here we go. Come on, you bitch. Oh, shit. Catastrophic. Should have brought a Leatherman. Need a reliable stick. All right, there we go. Okay, well, what do we got left? Turns out that's extremely hot. Plan ahead, guys. Ow. God damn it. A little bit of olive oil. Get in there. Rub it in. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Get some of that seasoning on there. God, I'm just getting smoked out right now. My hand is just not feeling great. Boiling water stings. Oops, sorry guys, had you out of the frame. All right, flip it over. Same treatment. This thing is gonna be awesome. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna sear it, but first I gotta move this nasty, disgusting cactus. Let me adjust you guys a little here. This nasty cactus out of here and get these prickles off of it. That hurts. Oh, I think it's well done. All right, big boy going on. So I just got a little cookie sheet that I toss on here so I can save on some space when I'm packing out here. Sorry guys, let me get you in frame here. I just don't want to lose this thing. This would be absolutely catastrophic, unrecoverable. I'd be driving to the nearest restaurant to eat if I lose this thing. All right, that's reliable. So let's sear it. Oh yeah, look at that. That's beautiful. Look at that beautifully seared steak. You can't ask for better than that right there. I'm not so sure about this nasty cactus, but we're gonna try it. But that thing is absolutely beautiful. As this big dog steak finishes up, I got these nasty little cactus ready to eat. These mushrooms are probably about done, but these are gonna be the hors d'oeuvre. We're gonna start with those nasty little things. Ugh. Smoke blasted me. We're gonna start with those nasty little things. I think I got all the pricklies off, but we'll see. I tried to church it up with some butter and some seasoning, but I don't think it's gonna be good. Hand is gonna be okay. I think I'm gonna survive, but we do need to go get more water now and start the filtration process all over again. But I'm eating first, guys. This thing's about done and we're gonna dig in. So there you have it. A little cactus as an appetizer. God, I hope I got all the prickly shit out of there. Here we go. God, it's slimy. Not appealing. Nothing sharp yet. That is weird. Oh. I can't say it's like bad, but it is unique. It's kind of like Jell-O mixed with like a kiwi. Oh, in like room temperature. Oh, that wasn't good. I should not have eaten that first. That'll make the steak better, I guess. Oh, yeah, avoid cactus if you can. My goodness, look at that big old boy. For size reference, that's my hand. That is a hunk of meat. And that thing's gonna be rare on the inside. Let's cut it open. Oh yeah, perfect. My God, I'm gonna destroy this thing. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to your friends. That's how the channel grows. and we want to keep bringing you this content. As much as I enjoy doing this, it adds up. No, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna enjoy the absolute shit out of this meal. So I have no idea what the kind of rock this is, but I've seen this stuff before. Whatever this stuff is, it fractures and makes just an absolute razor's edge. So something like that even right there is almost just sharp enough to saw meat right there. This is far superior than that piece that I picked up earlier. So I'm gonna see if I can't grab a chunk here, and I'll take another back with me and see if we can't build a nice edge and play around with maybe a spear or something. If I can make a spear stick into a tree, I think I get to be king of the world for the day. All right, we got our filter in action again. You can see that nasty looking water. Obviously there's some sediment. Ignore the sediment, that will be filtered. This is what we started with. So there's a little sample of it right there. You can see some yellow discoloration in there. I don't know if we'll get rid of that, but it'll at least be safe to drink. So we'll let that do its thing. What I did was poke little holes through the can. I'll slide a stick through there, and each side of the stick will be poking out through the can. I'll be able to hook it on either side. So we got an opening now. We'll see what we can do to get some of that rock that we found wedged in this bad boy. And if I can stick this in a tree, I'm gonna be pretty damn stoked on it. Also, I spilled the water again. This time it wasn't fire hot, but I absolutely knocked it over. Luckily we had extra, so I ran the filtration process again. We'll get there. We're gonna drink this nasty shit water, I promise you, but we're gonna have to go get more. You guys don't have to come for that part, don't worry. I'll do that off camera. You don't have to see me get water twice. Let's make a spear. So I'm using some extremely primitive cordage, just a little bit of bark, green bark, and I'm winding it around and kind of weaving it through like a figure-8 to give it a little more structural integrity besides just that pressure, I guess, of the log squeezing on itself. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but these are the little strands I'm using, so I'll set you guys down. Well, I suppose this tree's as good as any. I'm not going to stand too far away because I don't want to miss completely. Tripod mode engage. All right, wish me luck. Here we go. Well, let's see how it took it. Absolutely destroyed. Back to the drawing board. I did a bit of a trailer park overhaul to the camp. So I was a little worried that my feet were just going to get freezing cold. So I put a bunch of sticks down. I peeled off a bunch of this exterior, this dead bark, peeled off in large sections. And I laid that over the sticks. And then I just doused it with the dead pine needles. So basically my structure is 3/4 of my tinder bundle. So I need to be careful with this. But that's going to give me significantly more protection from the wind. You can see how much, or how little I should say, light is actually coming through. I need to shore up that corner a little bit there, but this is going to keep me snug. I'm not too worried about it now. I'm going to be nice and warm tonight. And our water is done, and I didn't spill it. Let's give it a try. Appearance, I mean, whatever. Not great, but let's try it. I mean, it tastes like I'm drinking water out of a shitty beer can, but should be safe in theory. Well, we're gonna wind down. Just a few more things tonight before we call it. I'm gonna prepare a few things for the morning. One thing I do before I get completely tucked in for the night is I make sure I have fire material for the next day. So right here, I have some sections of that saturated bark that acts as an amazing fuel source. I have small twigs back there. I got my tinder bundle, and I got some wood in the event that we get moisture. Everything's going to be tucked up underneath and dry and ready to go in the morning. We won't be out here too long in the morning. I got things to do back in town. Life stays busy, as everybody knows. I will say it was a very long and not very fun week at work today, or work this week. But so getting out here, it's just so nice to be able to disconnect, and it's just peaceful and quiet out here. And I haven't heard another human, and my phone doesn't ring. And all you hear is the, the breeze and the trees and the birds. So it's a nice way to refresh and unwind. So if you're struggling with stresses in life, just get away from it, leave for a little bit, get outdoors, go hide in the wilderness. And I'll tell you, it's just refreshing to get out there and do it. Bring your family with you. I know those people generally add stress to your lives as well, but they'll appreciate it. Well, this is home. I gotta toss the light on the GoPro, but not bad. It turned out just fine. I really like that I enclosed the backside there. And sure is not a bad view to fall asleep to. Good morning. Oh, I slept in. It's 8 o'clock even. I did not get to sleep till fairly late, but let's see, take a look outside. Looks like it's going to be a decent day. A little bit of snow/rain last night. That kind of did surprise me, but nothing terrible. Only got down to about 30-something degrees, so let's get out there, get some breakfast going. All right, water's boiling. Got a good roll going on the little guy, and the big one's just kind of starting to see some bubbles. As that's boiling, I'm just gonna feed the fire around it. I'm not in a big hurry, and I'm not gonna be here terribly long after I'm done eating. So what I'll do is just keep stoking this thing and let the fire just burn around it and get that boil done a little faster. It wouldn't be ideal because I got to get it out of there, but I'm just gonna let the fire burn down around it and let it kind of start to naturally cool on its own before I move it out of there, because I won't need the fire to be maintained for much longer today. So I'll just let the fire kind of burn out around it as it boils. In the meantime, what I'll do is start tearing down camp and start getting this kind of back to what it looked like. I don't really want to leave much of a mark out here, so I try and clean it up as best I can. We're gonna do tomahawk leftovers for breakfast. I did not eat the whole thing. So since I got it wrapped in tin foil, I'm just gonna throw it straight on the coals. Bush microwave. Probably one of the more critical survival items to have out here with you that I totally skipped over is coffee, especially in the morning when you're sleeping on the ground and drinking shit water and eating cactus. Pick this guy up. It's just a small way to do a pour over. It's collapsible and like a rubberish material. So all we do is take whatever we're gonna make our coffee in, which right now is gonna be the mug, since right now that's the best we got. Everything else has been used for, normally I have a coffee cup out here, but I by no means was roughing it, I wouldn't say, but I didn't want to bring my life with me out here. So whatever you're gonna put your coffee in, your pour over. I use just a paper towel as a filter. I always pack a few of those with. I just fold it over, insert. Add your coffee. I like it strong, and I like my coffee black. I don't add a bunch of shit to it. Let's see if we can do this without spilling. Normally I bring a Leatherman with as well. That would probably be something I should just keep in the pack, because that's so handy for removing anything from fire and dealing with hot objects. I already totally bare hand grabbed that and it's still hotter than hell, so I'm just going to use a big wide stick that I can create some leverage with, like so. And let's see how this goes. Let's try and make coffee. It's actually another layer of the filtration process here. That water's still kind of murky looking, but I got some particulate in there from the fire when I was boiling it, but we'll see. I could care less, actually. I need coffee. So the tail end of that water right there, as it comes out, you'll see it's got particulate in there. We don't want that. Oop. So there's some ash in there that got mixed in as we were boiling away. Now we let the coffee do its thing. Just basically another layer of our filtration. And there's the last bit of water we got to work with. And we got one coolant right there. That'll be enough to get me out of here for the day. Let's enjoy this coffee. Well, that's gonna be it, folks. I appreciate you guys watching the video. It was a fun experience. We're gonna have more of that this summer. Sounds like in a couple weeks from now, we're gonna do a couple days in the wild. Not quite as rough. I'll have some other folks with me. So we're gonna have to bring a little more in the amenities category. But I thank you guys for watching. Share it with your friends, like, please subscribe. Stay tuned for the next one, guys.